Morning, this is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World and the Off-Grid Project. Wow, timing is perfect. I just felt a raindrop on my hands. I had an impending rainstorm, I think that's proper English, and I want to do some work today. But the problem is, if I have wet wood, I cannot work with it. So I rushed around. I never grabbed my camera. I honestly didn't have time to mess around. Yeah, I feel rain hitting my head. It's just starting. Gonna have rain all day, non-stop. But if you remember, there was a mess of wood in these pallets here. And this was the wood that I plan on using for my kitchen. That's this pile here, of which I still have quite a bit to process. And I just ran around with the garden tractor and the trailer and brought it up over underneath the canopy where I'm working. I'll show you in a minute. This is going to be burning wood. This is firewood. A lot of it's hardwoods. And here I was going to have this all be firewood, but I thought about it, and this is all oak. I might be able to use some of this in cabinetry. I can split it on the table saw and use some of this wood for cabinet making. Some of it's going to be good wood, so I will see what I use and what I don't, but that would clean up very nicely. Split this up into 2x2s and use it for framing for some of my shelving and stuff. I think that'd be awesome. If I can get all these staples out of it. Depends on how hard those will be to take out, because there's a mess of them. It's all stapled and nailed together. So we'll see. That's a later project. There's a little bit of my house siding, which will be processed later on. Now let me take you over here. It's been dark and cold all day. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. It's not really the nicest weather today. Been keeping an eye on the wood. It's getting lighter. This is the stuff that was wet and was in the sun to dry. This stuff is probably burnable now, so that'll be good to go. I just need to get a whole lot more of it. Every day I'm picking and sorting and stacking wood. That's got to be sorted out. I'm picking at it, but I've still been using some of the OSB, which I need to get out of the rain. So another thing I've been doing is getting stuff put away properly out of the weather. So over here in a construction zone, quite a mess, but everything has to be under the canopy. Wish I had a bigger area. I've sorted all that wood that I broke down, and I pretty much put a lot of the longer stuff here and the shorter stuff over here. Now what's going to happen today is I'm going to take some of these guys, alright, I'm going to take some in with me. I'll show you what my plans are. Haven't been inside yet today, so let me see if I can clear out space. Let me pause the camera. See the camera on the tripod for convenience. Now my plans are to, okay, so that one's got metal on it, it's going to fight me. My plans are to lay these out, obviously without the metal on the staples and the stuff. I'm going to look for the flatter ones. Obviously that one's not flat, but this will give you a general idea of what I'm thinking. I'm going to lay these out on a table, try to get them flat together as much as possible. I don't know yet how I'm going to do that, so I'm researching on YouTube. And obviously this one's out, but again, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to probably put a little joint on the edges of these. I'm still trying to research, like I said. I'm not yet sure. But these are going to be glued together, clamped and glued tightly together, which is easier said than done, as I said. Yeah, I might have to plane the edges or run it through the table saw, because these are not straight edges. This is not going to be an easy job. I better put a joint on them maybe. If I put a little lip on them. And then the idea is to clamp these together, glue them in the middle, in the seams, clamp them together, and build myself a tabletop for my kitchen counters with this stuff, with this type of wood. And let that cure overnight. I'll obviously be cutting the ends off, and once that's cured, then the next step is to take it through the planer, the service planer, so I can only go 12 inches wide per piece. So it'll take two and a half, well, it'll take 3 sections to do this properly. And run it through the surface planer to clean it and get it all to the same level, same thickness. And then glue it and nail it to this countertop. And then I'm going to heavily varnish it. This is going to be the only surface in my house that is not going to have a purely organic green substance on it, because the varnish is going to be necessary for working around the kitchen sink where it'll be wet all the time. I'm thinking along the lines of bars where their countertops are super thickly varnished and really rugged, and people are spilling beer and slop all over them every day, and they never show it. So that's the idea I've got for my countertop here. I think it'll be alright. Now obviously I'm not going to have people cutting on the countertop. I would never do that on any countertop. That's what cutting boards are for. So I'm going to go out and start sorting together some of these boards, cutting the ends off, cleaning them up, and start to prepare for gluing. Well, it was going to rain, or it was supposed to rain, so I just chopped up. Been using the old table saw. I put the bag back in. I found some more empty feed bags that I had kept, and some cat litter bags. I knew I had kept some somewhere, and I'm happy I did. So I put the sawdust collector back in, and I just ripped up a whole mess of paneling and put them inside the house because it was supposed to rain. It did actually sprinkle. So I've got a pile of it here. It doesn't look like a lot, but there's a few boards. That's 6 or 7 boards I think that I cut. And I cut long ones. I ripped them. And I want to thank, forgive me for forgetting who it was specifically, but I want to thank the person who suggested I rip this in 2 passes, lowering the blade and ripping halfway through, and then flipping over the board and flipping the other way through, because it is better on the saw, and I was able to run all of these in one go without the saw overheating. And it's cooler out today. It's not yet 60 degrees, I don't think. Now, I brought in a lot of little scraps of my paneling, and I'm thinking about making my countertop out of scraps, because this pallet wood is too uneven. See the gaps? And then it's warped and bent and everything. Trying to flatten that and glue it together is going to be next to impossible with the tools that I have on hand. But this stuff has all been cut and is relatively straight. So let me see if I can get an idea here. Put these aside. My new kitchen counter. See, these are relatively straight and flat and even with one another. So I can take a bunch of scraps and clamp and glue them together, and although they're not the same thicknesses, that'll be fixed in the next step. But I can glue these together and have a relatively straight seam between the boards and make my tabletops out of that. It's not hardwood, so that's the only thing it could maybe dent, but if the polyurethane is thick enough, then that is what would be taking the blow anyway. So I gotta really consider, but I think I'm gonna put together some boards this afternoon experimentally and glue them together and see what I get out of it anyway. And if it looks good and if it works, then I can put it up here. If I don't like it, I can then try to figure out how to use this warped and bent pallet wood. See, it's just warped in all different directions and ways and shapes. So I don't know if I can use it. If anybody has an idea how to take this warped and bent and curved pallet wood and see it's got a gap here, and then it comes back together here, and then this piece goes inwards at the end, it warps right about here back inwards, and then it warps upwards. If anybody knows how to do that, straighten that and use it, please let me know. Otherwise I'll be using the softwood, which is not optimal for a countertop, but it'll work. So, alright, I'm gonna have lunch. Well, I am no professional woodworker, but I have spent a bit of time experimentally trying to figure out how this can work. The problem is, even this is warped a little. I've got perfect seams here, everything perfectly aligned, no gaps. I even have a joint in the middle here, which will work fine. I'll cut the edges straight to fit when I'm done, but they're not straight and flat this way. And when I try to flatten them, the whole thing moves. Then it doesn't hold together. I don't have the right clamps, I think. So I'm thinking about using some plastic on the edge after I glue them and put down, is this zoomed? Nope. Thinking about putting down like a 2x4 on top and one on the bottom with plastic around it so the glue doesn't stick to the 2x4s, and that'll hold these tight in place. Let her put plastic on the table. That's what I could do. I could put plastic on the table and then put weights down like a board with bricks on it. That'd be perfect right there. That'd be absolutely perfect. Put bricks down on top of a board on here to hold them flat until it cures. I think that's what I might end up doing. It only has to sit there overnight. Problem is I wouldn't be able to move that piece, so the next piece, if I want to make this section, I'd have to do it in two pieces because my clamps aren't long enough. So I have to do that in two pieces, and I have no way of moving that and nowhere to put it. So but I think I'm onto something here, is that will hold together and then clamp it with the clamps like I did here. That closes up the gaps in between. So might work. I think it'd be a beautiful countertop. I think it would look quite amazing. And then the varnish will be the protector. It's not a hardwood, but then again I don't plan on bashing things around on it. And if I ever wanted to change it, I could always change it out with hardwoods in the future if something presents itself. But honestly, pallet wood is too coarse for this job, just too rough. Another option would be I could shave some pallet wood down, but the stuff I have here is already very narrow pieces. So unless I am accepting gaps and stuff, this is hardwood though, very hardwood. I think I'm going to try gluing a piece together with the softwood and try a piece with the hardwood and see what happens. Might as well try it, see what happens. I've only got 2 sets of clamps, so I can do an experiment today and then figure the rest out tomorrow, whatever turns out best. Well, this is quite a contraption, but since it's my first time ever trying to join boards by the sides, this is what I have. 3 2x4s with plastic underneath each one and rocks on each one, and that holds the boards flat, and then the clamps hold the tension to keep the joints together, and leave them overnight and hope for the best. That's it. See if tomorrow I have a board. As long as everything's flat and it's tight to the table. I've got plastic under the table to protect the table, well, to keep the wood from sticking to the table. And if it works, then tomorrow I cut it, fit it, and make another one and keep on going. Well, I've been looking online, studying about pine countertops, to see if it has been done before, and yes, it is done quite often. And I think the polyurethane will protect it, and as long as I'm careful and I don't slam things around on it, I think it should be fine. So I think I'm going to use this stuff. Oh, baby cat, psst, psst. Say hi. Say hi to the camera. You're smart, aren't you? She's out here helping me think. So I think I'm going to use this stuff and just do it. I'm going to go in and grab some liquid nails. It's getting really dark out, but I don't care. I want to see this through. I think I'm just going to go and get some liquid nails and apply this homemade paneling to my countertop and just do it and be done with it, because everything else is going to take too long and be too complicated. And although that might look really cool, I think I'm just going to slide that experiment off onto a piece of plywood and set it off to the side, because I can maybe use that for some kind of a box or like an ottoman type thing. Is it ottoman, a footstool is what I'm thinking. Anyway, that'd be sort of cool to make like a storage box type footstool using that type of wood. So I might use that anyway. I was thinking about using all these little scraps on something. So I have to go and grab some liquid nails because I ran out, and go grab a couple tubes, enough to do this, and make it happen tonight. And then I'll have a countertop, and then I can sink in the set in the sink and the stove as soon as I'm done with the varnish. Well, it's 8 o'clock, and I'm thinking about firing up my baby generator to use the air compressor and the brad nailer, because I just had a look here and just eyeing it up, and that could be, well, it's dirty, but that could be my countertop. This is all the scraps that were outside. I'm obviously going to sand them smooth and flat, but I'm just getting an idea. I can piece in, but it's like it was meant to be. Starts here flush, ends flush with the wall. Too good to be true. I think it was like it was meant to be. So I think that's going to be my countertop. No, I don't think so. I know, that's it. So I'm going to fire up the little generator, and I'm going to at least do a nice chunk of it and get a good idea of what it'll look like tonight, and do that before I call it a night. Well, the tiny house countertop taking shape. I'm gonna try a belt sander across that and see if I can flatten it out with a belt sander. If not, I'll use the hand planer. See if I can get these ridges off and make it one flat, smooth surface. But this is how it's going to be. This is it, because they're glued down now. I got one nail I got to remove later, or push in, or pound in. But I'm using the brad nailer and the air compressor. I got my charger on because my battery is for some reason a little bit low. So while the generator's running, I'm just using it. And I'm going to finish this section tonight, and then that'll be it. I'm just making this stuff up as I go along here. I have no experience in such things. I am cutting indoors for the first time ever because 9 o'clock at night, pitch black out. And I do want to get this done. The reason I'm stressing about the kitchen right now is because I have to do polyurethane while it's still warm, obviously. I want to be able to do the polyurethane on here and have the windows open. I also need to do the sanding in here, and that's going to be an issue with the cold weather. I can't be doing all that with cold weather and have the windows open. So I need to do all this stuff now while it's still warm during the day, and let that stuff cure So that's why this has become sort of a priority. It's going to take quite a few coats and quite a few days to do the kitchen properly. It's looking good though, I think. Again, I'm probably a little bit overkill on the brad nailer, but I'd rather be safe than sorry and do a really good job on this thing. Let's see which way I want this. This way. Yep. Ooh. They don't fit happily. It's like a puzzle. There you go. That's better. There's going to be some tiny gaps. Hoping the polyurethane will fill them in nicely for me. Be a strong counter. Pretty strong. I'll let you watch me do the last few pieces. Since, again, I didn't touch the camera during the first whole part of the process. That'll be good. Yep. Well, it's gonna be done, finally. Decisions have been made. Sort of like that knot. Turn that around. There we go. Yeah, it didn't make a difference. Alright, whatever. Okay. Alright, I won't bore you with the last piece. I gotta cut a notch out of there. I'll do that and I'll turn the camera back on and show you the finished product. I'm stuttering. Well, there's the new kitchen countertop. I think that's about as nice looking as can be. Once it's sanded and polyurethane is on it, that's going to be pretty nice, I think. Got a lot of trim work to do. I think I'm going to put a like an L-shaped edge over here. I'll put a piece on here, and then I'll make an L-shaped edge for this. I think that'll look nice to cover that, all that mismatched wood. But what do you guys think? By the time you see this, obviously it'll be too late because it'll be done, but the colors sure don't show up. I'm gonna have to check this again tomorrow. On camera it doesn't show up. I can see the colors, but there it is. There's my countertop. That's it for tonight. Good night, everybody. Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World, the Off-Grid Project, and the Cottage on Wheels.